as we talked about last break, before the break, we're talking about the secret of the universe on the death and taxes side, on the taxes side. So the death part, we want to keep you alive so you can continue to file your taxes. We're joined here today by Sarah and Bruce. Sarah's the marketing director for a few of the Liberty Tax locations, actually several of them, and then there's Bruce, who is a franchise owner of a few different franchises of Liberty Tax. So contact information real quick for those that have their pencils handy.
Oh, contact number is going to be 602-995-2414. Somebody's there, always available. Every time to answer your questions, and what we can do is very crucial that you do give us a call if you have any questions about this coming up year, this year, or anything that you as far as need assistance for, any kind of health care or any questions about your W-2s or any kind of businesses that you kind of want to create. And again, like I said before, give us a call, 602-995-2414.
Very good. And actually, while I have you captive, Bruce, I have a question regarding electronic mileage reports. Do they accept them if you had an app where you're actually keeping track of your mileage and where you're going, what you're doing? Do they accept those, or because
they've actually frowned on those? They actually frowned on those, and they want actual mileage. Right? Yeah.
Okay.
And I know, the trucking, the truckers. We have some trucker clients, and that's what they do. They do electronic, and that's accepted, but it's not for the general public. No. They don't like those.
Okay, so they still like you to keep it on the dashboard and in the glove box and stop and notate where you went and where you're going, and you can put a few coffee stains on it and the whole thing, right?
It's so true, because I so have stuff like that.
All right, so stick with your books. Too bad. I was trying to tie it into the social media and these apps on our phones that might make our lives a little bit easier. But good advice. Still keep. And frowning on it means not necessarily they won't accept it, but they might cause you a little bit of grief. Ask a few more questions.
They really like to see a log.
Yeah.
They really like to see a physical log.
Okay.
And that can be a spreadsheet. But electronic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Spreadsheets might be okay.
Sure.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. I'm a spreadsheet guy as well. So, all right, that sounds good. Other questions that I'm trying to ask, kind of on behalf of our audience, when they're getting ready to go down and visit you on their first appointment, what kinds of things should they bring in so that they don't have to say, "Oh, I left that at home"?
You have a lot of entrepreneurs that listen, and I always suggest the number one thing. Get a Visa card, get a separate card for the business.
Okay.
Because you'd be amazed at the things that you buy that you forget, you don't log, you're busy. Very important. Get a separate card, keep those records separate bank account, and at the end of the year, put some thought into it. Go back and think of how much did I spend on marketing, how much did I spend on utilities, how much did I spend on mileage, how much did I spend on all these office supplies and miscellaneous things. Think about the computer you bought, and even we'll talk about if you can't take it off, at least think about it. And we'll go over it and see if you can take it off.
Sure. Now, when we first started off, when I was just out of college, and then I got married, and so we had the little side business, we used Quicken, and then realized we should have been using QuickBooks at a minimum. But do you have any good recommendations for those that are trying to keep their lives separate like that? Besides just the credit card, is there any good software you might recommend?
Quicken is actually not bad. I mean, QuickBooks is the standard. That's what everyone wants. But there's nothing wrong with keeping it Quicken.
Okay.
Or a simple Microsoft Has the Money.
Sure.
All those programs, as long as you're keeping it separate, we can work with it.
Okay, very good. Now, I am going to give a testimonial for Liberty Tax, a kind of reverse testimonial. Goes like this. That if you think that you're just going to go buy yourself a software program and that integrates with Quicken, upload everything into there, and you're on your way, why would you need Liberty Tax anyway? I'm going to answer that question. First of all, when it imports, who knows where it's going? Who knows where it's going? I'm not going to disclose who this person was, but there was a person that I'm very familiar with who did that exact thing, imported it in, and they had a very good year. They and sold a property, and I think there was like a $90,000 gain on the property. Small problem. Is that the when Quicken uploaded it into the tax software, it actually claimed that gain twice. So that means there was twice as much tax due. So in the next 7 years, the IRS and this person fought over because the person thought they should get a $10,000 refund, and the IRS said no, you should have $100,000 penalties and fees for not paying it in the first place, so it was a huge war that went on over this. And after 7 years, the IRS admitted they were wrong, and then refused and said, but it's been longer than 7 years. We don't have to pay you what we should owe you in the first place. So just go to Liberty Tax. Oh my gosh, save yourself the trouble.
Well, that's the thing is it's part of one of our guarantees. You come to Liberty Tax, that's what we're there for. So when you have issues like that with the IRS, that's what we do. We help you get through that.
Yeah,
when you're doing it by yourself, it's a little difficult.
Yeah, because it's the first time you've hit that issue. They,
Right.
at Liberty Tax, they've done it over and over and over, and they have known that story or stories like it. So they say, make sure if somebody's having a $90,000 gain that it doesn't show up on both those lines and get double credited. So there's just things that it's good to have another pair of eyes. Don't try to do it yourself. Go into Liberty Tax and save yourself the trouble. Believe me, it's worth its weight in gold. And for sure, that would have paid the Liberty Tax fees over by probably 50 times over if that person had actually gone into Liberty Tax and done it.
Yeah, that's
So,
part of one of our guarantees
Yeah.
that we provide. It actually, we give you, one of our written guarantees is part of that, if you do get audited, we do provide that consulting services for you.
Oh, and by the way, I happen to know that they spent $6,000 on a tax attorney fighting the IRS during that time period as well. So it just first of all, don't mess with the IRS. Second of all, the best way to not mess with the IRS is to get it done right the first time.
Yes.
Yeah, and don't panic when you receive the letter.
Yes.
Yeah, also true. The world isn't coming to an end. Good advice. It's time to get good advice.
Yeah, call them. Be calm. A lot of it depends on who you get to as an IRS agent.
Mhm.
So don't panic. And they do make mistakes. On joint accounts, for example, they might duplicate the income to both parties. I see that happen. So just be aware when the letter comes. Just talk with us.
Absolutely. Now, going to that other side of what makes you guys a great company in preparing, preparing for 2014 in 2015, right? So fast forward a year. What's some good advice this year that you might give to those that are going to be planning for the following year? A couple of good strategies. For example, you gave one. If you haven't already, get a separate business credit card, and that keeps track of those expenses. You can print those out and start notating your business use and that kind of thing on there. But are there any other kind of good pieces of advice as an accountant that you would give?
Sure, the Affordable Care Act is the 800-pound gorilla in the room.
Yes.
So if you're covered with a health insurance plan right now through your employer, you're fine. You don't have to do anything. The government's going to have theirs up through March 31st. If you don't have to prepare taxes, if you're incarcerated, there's several things that you don't need insurance.
Okay.
And we can walk through those with you. I think the number one mistake I see people make is if their company has a retirement plan, they don't take advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
And often they'll have a 3% match or 6% match, 1% match, whatever it is. Save up until that match, because it's money that you're getting from the company. And it's also money that we're writing off on the taxes. And there's also a credit for lower income people that actually put through money on retirement, which I think is the best credit they have. And again, I tell people just to plan and keep good records.
keeping good records, I mean, I just can't say that enough, but that keeping good records is very, very important. So, and I have been lucky enough to never be audited. Now I probably have jinxed it, and I'm grateful to have not been audited. But you want to always be prepared as if you were going to receive that audit. What are some of the more highly audited schedules? That might be something or forms.
Oh, well, the big one is the in-home deduction. The office in the home deduction. They're really looking for that. They look for things like mileage. They look at computers. They look at Schedule Cs, they look at businesses, certainly more than individuals.
Especially self-employed businesses.
Yes,
right?
yes. The other thing they're looking at is earned income credit. Earned income credit is for low-income people that have children, and there's been a lot of abuse in that.
Sure.
So they're looking at that very closely too now.
Gotcha. That's good to know. Very, very good to know. So, but overall, here's the thing about I would say taxes is kind of like going to the dentist. You want to have a good dentist that makes you feel comfortable because you're already scared enough as it is going in there, and similar to a surgeon. So, when you pick your accountants, when you pick somebody to do your taxes, you want to pick somebody who is personable, somebody who gives you a good feeling about yourself. And I just can't say there's almost not much more I can say than they're the most amazing people I've met in the Liberty Tax world, and who are going to make you feel good and make you feel relaxed when you're stressed out of your mind and it just feels so overwhelming. You don't know if you're ever going to get past all of these tax issues and back to your real life. Go to Liberty Tax with Sarah and Bruce, and they'll get you squared away and taken care of. So it looks like we have about, let's see, about 2 or 3 minutes. Is there anything any particular things you want to cover? I tend to run off at the mouth.
Yeah, one of the marketing things that Sarah's doing is business to business and boots on the ground. So we've talked about electronic media, and really it's a people business, it's a personal business. Sarah has staff that goes to business, they drop off cookies and treats. They get our name out there in front of people,
Sure.
And it helps a lot. There's an old accounting joke that says you can tell an introverted accountant because he looks at his shoes when he talks to you, and an extroverted accountant will look at your shoes when he's talking to you. So I mean, we try to be first, right?
Uh-huh.
And so that's why it's important. The business to business and the personal contacts and the boots on the ground really make a big difference for us.
Absolutely. Now, when you go into these businesses, because this is a great way to market, are you looking for to do the books for the business, or are you looking for the employees to do the taxes for the employees? Both.
Both. We kind of want to give that security to the business, as far as helping them with their books and helping them increase and expand their business based off of making sure that their schedules are right, their profit and losses are correct, but also their employees, because what we're doing is we want to base a flat rate off of just helping their employees getting the right questions for taxes. So it's really a matter of both. I'm a type of person, I think you never leave one man out. You always just kind of collect them all in. So I just definitely like the fact that we can kind of speak with the employees and help the business expand, because if the business expands, then the more employees are going to be hired, and we can actually help them any way possible.
Wonderful. And that's kind of where I wanted to wrap up on right as it looks like it's just about, it looks like we have 1 or 2 minutes. The advice that I want everyone to kind of take out of this, if you have almost every residential business, if you're targeting the residential market, could do exactly that strategy. If you think about it, every business owner is also a homeowner, and whether you're selling ice cream or whether you're selling photography or whatever it is, if you go business to business and figure out a way to talk to the business owner and make a good benefit to the employees, if you really think what Liberty Tax is doing, they're creating a great benefit to the employees. So if you happen to own a business, do some brainstorming and think about how you can do that on a business-to-business level, and then you can target those employees and the business owner, him or herself. That's number one. And number two, then you can actually start promoting your social media physically with real relationships inside of the social media. So now you kind of have a 3D social media plan, so that when you actually get people inside of your social media, they know who you are, they've met you, shaking your hand, and that's one of the best ways to have a truly organic social media program.